bonsoir, buenas noches to investors in North and South America. Minaswa konnichiwa. 안녕하세요. Good afternoon to investors in Asia. Buenas noches, buenos dias, good morning, good morning to investors in Europe and Africa. I'm Daniel Yue speaking from Hong Kong. It's July 19th, Sunday here, 1 p.m. in Hong Kong, 1 a.m. in Wall Street, and 6 a.m. in London. Welcome to our weekly review of the American stock market. This week I have three main points to talk about. Number one, different situations of three major indices. Number two, true and false patterns. Number three, IPO of SPCX and SKHY. Subscribe, like, and share. Remember to click the bell, please. The market started to rebound from the golden peak of late March and rocketed up till early June. It then went horizontally, but three major indices have three different patterns. S&P developed a symmetric triangle in June, but gradually transformed to an ascending triangle in July. As it was on the edge of breaking upward, it had a drop last Friday, but as no great harm to the pattern, it is still an integral ascending triangle. Mind that the closing price is near the 50 SMA, the divergence of MACD is 0.9, which is quite near neutral, and RSI is 50, also neutral. Superficially, it is an ascending triangle, but already wind down from the top line. It cannot give you expectation of ascending now. It is an ascending triangle, but cannot go up. As for Nasdaq, it led the market in the rising trend, but in early June, it started to retreat because a lot of investors found that AI stocks were overestimated. It is not a bubble, but really these come corrections. Therefore, in June, it formed a descending triangle, but no hints to have a breakthrough downward. It is called descending, but no breaking downward paths. Instead, it is undergoing a stage of metamorphosis. Mind that since early July, it formed a mixed trend. Price mixed together at the far tip of the pattern. The descending triangle goes upward to form a symmetric triangle, but extending further ahead. However, the drop of last Friday is transforming the pattern into another shape, which is a rectangular flag, still above the previous lows, a little weak but not so much horrible. MACD in the setting with forward bars and all mixed around the zero line. It is not a symmetric triangle, for it already walked out of the triangle. It is not a descending triangle, for it cannot form wave C of the wave ABC of Elliott wave. The descending trend has already been destroyed. It's a funnel shape. We still have to observe the life cycle of a butterfly from stage egg to stage larva, stage caterpillar, stage pupa, and then stage imago. So how about the DJIA? It is known as the safe haven of the market. The fast rising trend took a rest in late April, for the market was led by Nasdaq, and most of the components of DJIA are traditional stocks. It shows the market sentiment is using the DJIA for avoiding risk. That is, when Nasdaq rises, people took profit, but they had not left the market. Capitals are actually changing horses to sluggish stocks in DJIA. They are still looking good upon the US market, and then when DJIA is forming a nice rising trend, from May to July, it is rising in an angle of 45 degrees, which is known as the most ideal rising trend. The MACD is quite special, for it goes horizontally forward and not upward with the 50 SMA as support. It is an uptrend, but would not show you it is madly high as rockets. RSI is sticking to 70 points, but still under it and going horizontally. This denotes it is in high level, but not mad level. It is a trend of going up in the low key and would not make you mad. The most typical example is in the chart of TSM. It goes up in an angle of 45 degrees, which is known as the most ideal rising trend, for it provides time for investors to take profit and also gives a chance for people to buy at low and no need to chase high. Apple on record high shows capital back to traditional stocks. After all, they are traps. S&P is forming an ascending triangle but cannot break through upward now. Nasdaq is forming a descending triangle but cannot break through downward now. DJIA is forming an ideal uptrend of safe haven but start to slow down. Watch the metamorphosis before making conclusion. The second is true and false patterns. One more particular case happened, that is when the indices are rising, a lot of investors are having diminishing returns in their stock accounts. That is, the total profit and capitals are shrinking. It is simply that the rising is not a comprehensive rise. Individual stocks are rising one after one, and some even are falling. The cycles are not the same, such as in the Magnificent Seven, NVDA goes horizontally. It is because NVDA in the November 2025 harvest moon had a good result announcement, but price started to fall. People sell on good news because they are afraid AI is a bubble. This trend is followed by Tesla on the pay and performance scheme of Elon Musk, and henceforth a lot of blue chips have the same situation. Even they know that AI is not a bubble, but may be overestimated. NVDA is forming a false pattern of head and shoulders. Normally, people would say head and shoulders are the most accurate pattern of all patterns. It is correct, but most accurate does not mean 100% accurate. This time is a non-accurate pattern. It is a false pattern or a trap. The hardest part of learning chart analysis is not to memorize this and that pattern, but to find out the exception in actual trading. That is, which pattern is true and which is false. It is very easy to memorize different kinds of patterns with the help of AI, but so hard to distinguish which pattern is true and which is false, which is a trap, can kill you, and which is a golden pit and bury a lot of treasures waiting for you to explore. This can only be done by experience. Mind that NVDA occupies 12.34% in the Nasdaq 100 index. The second place is Apple, which is 11.98%. Mind that the third is not Microsoft, which occupies 7.26%. For Google, Class A is in the fifth rank, occupies 5.40%, and Google Class B in the sixth rank occupies 5.05%. Putting them together is 10.45% in the third place. This can also known as another kind of trap. The third item is IPO. For SpaceX, it is a belief in the charm of Elon Musk rather than the business, for it is still in a loss except for Starlink, which lead to profit. Not enough to fill any gap. Actually, those that bought Tesla is the same. They believe in Elon Musk is a Superman more than current business. Large amount of private stocks of SpaceX will push out to the market in November, which may press down the price, but still could not cool down the market. Catherine, the goddess of stocks purchases twice within 1 month, and thus made a lot of retail investors to follow. Some people even said it will fall down under 100 soon, so the best way is to set buying orders at 120 initially, and then the other level is 100 for repurchasing at low. SpaceX will be the same as Tesla. Those that had heart disease, please do not touch them, for the velocity is quite great, thus can wait for low. But when thunderstorm comes, bear in mind Elon Musk is a Superman. SKHY, it follows the trend of Korean stock market and not the US stock market, but for the K-Posy, is having a heavy heading and has already penetrated the baseline. The fall is over 20% from the high, and technically it is in bear market now. Mind that the Samsung and Hynix together worth 50% of the Korean market. So when they fall, it is easily causing a fall in K-Opsy and chip form market will be affected. Actually, the head and shoulders of NVDA is affected much by the double top of SKHY, and we cannot cut off the interrelationship when finding out whether the head and shoulders of NVDA is a true or false pattern. For the coming week, besides the war in Iran may accelerate and war in Ukraine may have peace talk, we still have to mind the Korean stock market for this week. Economic indicators are not so important, but on Wednesday, there are result announcement of Tesla and Google. Anyway, the false head and shoulders will have more elaboration next week. Forget the model of K3 in China. It is nothing more than the noise of DeepSeek. So, sayonara, adieu, auf Wiedersehen, adieu, bye bye. See you next week.